EduTechGuys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Hello and welcome to this episode of EduTechGuys Radio, brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative and Hope Public Schools. We are live from JNUC in Minneapolis. This is David. This is David.
This is Jeff.
This is Greg.
And this is awesome. We are coming to you live from the top, or as close to the top as we could possibly get, of the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis. The 9th floor, it's called the Amber Box, and there's a very good reason it's called the Amber Box.
It's all yellow glass. It's pretty nice. Hey, what's great is you listen to radio.edutechguys.com. Check us out on the web, www.edutechguys.com. We're live right now, coming to you from mixler.com/edutechguys. Coming to you from JAMF in Minnesota. Having a great time here. Had some great stuff from IBM we'll talk about later in the show this morning.
Yeah.
Have a few guys going to drop by. Anybody that wants to come by, if you're listening to the show live right now, you're at JAMF, come by and see us. You can also follow us on the social media, twitter.com/edutechguys, at EduTechGuys. You can also catch David at David and Art. And one day we'll get Brett on Twitter.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck.
He's more of the behind the scenes.
Exactly.
I think we've determined he's today's roadie is what it is.
That's pretty much what it is. He's the tech guy. Hey, listen, the audio today will be a little weird. This is a glass room with 3 glass walls and a hard floor. So
I don't think that's good for audio.
it's a little mangy.
Hey, I think it gives us that great stereo symphonic hall sound.
It is a little mangy room.
There's a lot of background noise. We've got folks that are up here and they're taking pictures out of this huge amber tinted glass window that overlooks the Mississippi River.
Hey, if you'll check out the Twitter account or the website, you'll find some great pictures of that. Looks pretty good.
And I think we're on Periscope. Have we started Periscope?
I don't think
know.
we've started the Periscope.
Okay, well,
I'll
we'll
start
be on
the
Periscope eventually. And,
we are still 20,000 leagues below the sea at the moment.
Periscope. But as Jeff mentioned, we're going to talk about IBM did a pretty interesting presentation this morning to kick off the day's events and their rollout and their move to Mac, or as they slowly make the move toward Mac. But we're also going to talk a little bit about what is JAMF, for those of you that aren't familiar. We'll also, we may talk a little bit about some of the sessions we've attended and see if we can get some audience members to come and grab a seat and share their experience with us. So it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, this whole thing's been pretty good. Been some great sessions. I don't know about the rest of the guys.
Absolutely.
Normally we can't get Greg to shut up here, but he's going to be the one-word guy the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's it. Yeah.
We're getting there.
I'm going to charge you for the second one.
Yeah, if you've never, if you don't know about JAMF software, they're the leading MDM in Mac and iOS deployment and management. Pretty much, I think they're the leading one. Yeah, one of the largest.
They're at least, if not the leading, they're a close second at the very least.
Well, and actually, with their move with IBM, where they're moving into with their deployment with IBM's move to Macs. Yes,
right.
That's what I said. IBM's move to Macs. That's going to make them even larger. And I believe Apple uses them also, don't they? Doesn't Apple use JAMF?
Apple, or at least they have in the past. Last time I heard that confirmed was several years ago. But yeah, in Apple stores, they actually manage all of the display devices with JAMF's MDM.
That's
pretty
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, it's pretty cool. This entire conference goes on for 3 days, Tuesday through Thursday. The guys are great. JAMF, the whole thing is free. So actually, it's just the cost of getting here and getting a room to stay. The entire conference is free. There's usually 3 sessions per hour, and you usually get in 3 or 4 session hours each day.
Sure.
They feed you lunch, so you can't beat that. It's free food, so you can get to JAMF conference and you can actually have a pretty great experience with their MDM.
Well, and in addition to Casper, which is that is their big software package it can be used for any size deployment, granted, but generally it's aimed at not just larger deployments, but also if you need that kind of granular management.
Right, exactly.
But they also have a program called Bushel, which is very cool. I played around with it a little bit. their bushel product is aimed at organizations that only have a handful of devices that they want to manage, and it's all cloud-based, and you set up your account for your organization, and then you can actually set it up to where your users can simply self-enroll into the program, and then you can govern what is or is not managed. So really, you could use it just in terms of inventory management and not actually manage a thing on the devices, just have them enroll in the program,
right,
and they'll just show up in your list. And that way, if you have employees that travel around and use their devices on the road a lot, you can, you at least have an idea who's got it, where it might be located.
Right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, I've got a lot of folks coming out of the Dowling right now. Hey, if you're just now listening to us, we're on the 9th floor of the Guthries. Come up and see us. We're talking education, technology, especially in relation to JAMF software. How are you using it? What are you using it for in your school system? Are you doing Macs? Are you doing iPads, iOS? Are you doing both? Doing the whole kit and caboodle.
And if you're out there and you're listening to us, been following us maybe with the hashtag JNUC, definitely come on out and grab a seat, and we'd love to hear how you're using the program at your school or business. And we all go, nobody. The people milling about that nobody's having a seat. I'm going to get, we need to get Michael Bradshaw to come over. Come on. Oh, come on, man.
I appreciate it.
You want to tell us how you're using JAMF?
I can't.
Okay.
Can't speak to that. All right, well.
So, listen, we're on the 9th floor. Come up and see us. We'll move ahead in the show.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, let's talk about that IBM move to Mac.
All right.
So, pretty much what happened this morning was IBM was here. They've decided in June to allow their employees to choose what device they would like to use, a PC or a Mac. And they couldn't have done it, honestly, without the integration of JAMF software, JSS, and Casper Suite. It wouldn't have happened for them. And the really interesting part is the basic numbers of what's happened here is that we're looking at about, 1,900 new Mac users a week, or what have been bringing on board.
It was in,
it's like 166,000 Macs that their folks have chosen.
It's a lot of Macs.
That's a lot of Macs. I think you never thought that you would hear that IBM as a company would be using a Mac to get their work done, but they found that their people enjoy the user experience. And I think it's one of the themes here at JAMF this year is user experience.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. Especially,
and I think that's great because that's what Mac is about, what Apple's about,
right,
user
right.
experience.
Well, and I think you look at the CEO. JAMF announced a brand new CEO, and he came and spoke a little bit yesterday. And between his talking about what they're looking in terms of user experience, and at the IBM presentation, I thought it was very cool that they showed some screenshots of what their onboarding process used to look like compared to what it looks like now, and it is so much more user friendly. I mean, and by that, yes, it means it's point and click icons, and it's single, one search box instead of this whole page full of links that you might or might not have a clue what they're talking about. That makes a big difference.
Oh, I agree. Tremendously makes it big. I think that was the interesting part is the customization that they did.
Yes.
Was really pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was the reason it was cool is because they were showing their previous imaging and everything they were doing to bring on a new system and what it looked like now.
Yeah.
And you're right, it was just like stripped down to bare bones so that there's nothing to it. The interesting part too was looking at their help desk numbers. They were showing that their help desk was comprised of like 40% of the PC users were constantly calling in.
Yeah.
And that number for Mac was 3%.
Now, by the same token, they've only been doing this since June, so you would hope there wouldn't be that many calls since June. But by the same token, That percentage was so small.
Especially, even though, you have a good point that, they're still rolling it out, so they have fewer Mac devices, but at the same time, it's a brand new device that some of them have probably never used before.
Right.
And so the fact that it's still brand new, being freshly rolled out, there's going to be bugs and kinks and that sort of thing, and it's still at 3%, that's still pretty awesome.
Right, yes, absolutely, yeah.
Well, it was great to hear the way that they handled everything. They were like, well, how do you force your people to use the self-service instead of it? And it was great to hear go, well, if you want to buy it yourself and download
Right,
it,
exactly.
or you
More
can
power
click it
to
here
you.
for free, and it's one step. Click it and install it. Otherwise, you put your user ID in, your Apple ID, and go through the whole process. That was interesting too. The
Yeah.
other thing that they've done is just like what we do at home. Open up the package, open the Mac, go through the steps, put in your username or whatever you're using there. We use email address, username.
Right, exactly.
And it's configured.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it.
Right.
So, that was
One-step deployment.
one-step deployment.
Well, I do like the idea that that they wanted to maintain that brand new Mac opening experience.
Right.
They thought that was very important, that when their users get their new MacBook, they're not just handed the MacBook, they're actually handed the shrink wrap box
Right,
that
exactly.
they have to open, and they get the whole suction thing
Right.
that Apple
Brand
spent $1 zillion to
spanking
determine
new.
3 seconds or whatever it is.
Right, exactly.
And yes, and and at this point their onboarding has evolved, as you've mentioned. They turn it on, and that's and it steps them through the whatever they call that, the setup buddy or Mac buddy or whatever buddy system it is. I don't know what it's called, whatever. But but they still go through that setup process just as if it were their own Mac they were getting out of the box that they had purchased from the store.
Right.
I think that's very important.
And heck, from the IT side, the fact that you don't even have to take the Macs out of the boxes. I mean,
Yeah.
you just get the pallet drop shipped to your site. And it's like, okay, have at it.
Yes.
We have the serial numbers already from the order. And they're all in DEP. And JSS doesn't support it yet, but probably in their next point release, El Capitan has some additional features for ensuring. Currently, if you take a Mac directly out of the box and it's in the device enrollment program, Apple's DEP, it does automatically push down the quick add package so that your machine is enrolled automatically, but it does it after you've gotten to the desktop. And so if you were super concerned about security or anything along those lines, they have a minute or two before it actually gets enrolled and has all of your management stuff on it, that someone could potentially do something. If you wanted to take, these devices don't have an asset tag yet because they're fresh out of the box. So it's like, oh, I never got managed. This is not my machine, and that sort of thing. But with the new El Capitan features, you can actually hold it at the setup assistant, so it never gets to the desktop before all of the management and software has been pushed down. So they never even get to the desktop before it's managed. It's got the management framework on there, so all software can be pushed down, all configurations are loaded, everything's locked down. Plus, in the current version of the Mavericks set up through DEP, you start out and you get an administrative account on the machine. You've got the little setup assistant that says, type in your name and your password,
Right.
and you start out with an administrative account.
Sure.
If you want users to start out with a limited user account, or don't even have a local account on the box at all, but just use an LDAP, an Active Directory account or whatever,
Sure.
that's now configurable in El Capitan. So they can start out with a limited user account, or they can they never have any local account at all. They just log in with their Active Directory credentials.
That's very cool.
So we're getting real close to just perfect, out of the box, instantaneous. Yeah, leave it in the shrink wrap and heck, go to town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Greg, talk about, IBM didn't talk about their pushing of software. Most of that's in their self-service.
Right.
What's your preference? I mean, what do you think about it?
I like to have a default set of applications that we push. So Google Chrome, Google Drive, the synchronization client. In some cases, like labs and stuff, I'll push out more software, like if we know that they've got something that requires Adobe Flash or Java or something along those lines, I'll default push those. So as soon as the lab device is reloaded, they get that instantly. And I think there's a handful of other applications that we default push antivirus. So just because we have noticed, this is one of those things that's a point of contention between different administrators is whether or not you push antivirus to max, but we do,
Right.
Because we have seen a couple of infections. So we push antivirus right out of the box. And aside from that, I think we do leave pretty much everything in self-service, everything from printers to VPN configuration profiles and you can even package just regular files. If you've got like templates for a class, then they need a bunch of document templates, you can package those up and have those pushed down into individual user directories, or it's a very flexible system.
That's very cool.
You know, it's interesting. Someone asked a question about Active Directory, and he said, "We don't use Active Directory." And the whole place was like,
That's great.
The other one of the other things, going back to security and user roles on the device when you open it up, there was a question about how much control were the users given when they open the box. And IBM said they get full control.
Right,
Mac
exactly.
or PC, give them full control.
Full
Why would you
rights.
not give them administrator rights on the local machine?
Exactly.
And, there was dead silence. I'll be just.
David actually started the class.
I started the class. And the people around me all thought I was insane. But seriously,
So we
why
actually
not?
believe that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We give all of our teachers full administrative. Heck, whenever we were deploying student machines, we give the students full administrative rights, which that got a few raised eyebrows from other administrators. It's like, your students? Are you crazy? But yeah, even though there are a handful, whenever we first rolled out our suddenly the word left my our new tech program, all of our students had individual one-to-one MacBook Airs. We debated whether or not to give them full administrative rights or to give them limited rights. And we decided we'll start out with administrative rights and see if we have any problems with it, and if necessary, we'll rein back. I think we had in the first 2 or 3 months, we had like 2 issues that were related to administrative rights.
Yeah, it's just not. I don't know. My mentality is you let folks have that control over some of the little personalization kind of things,
right.
And for the most part, they're not going to go digging around, mucking around and stuff they're not
right.
supposed to. Yeah, okay, maybe accidentally, or yes, there's a potential you've opened the door to something malicious happening, but okay, so then whatever, re-image the machine or
right.
scrap it out and have them re-enroll or whatever.
If we were something besides education, if we were business, to where there wasn't any legitimate need for people to be able to install their own applications and that sort of thing, okay, maybe we'll limit the rights. But we're education. We want to enable people to actually come up with their own solutions and pursue their own education, the ability to self-educate, where you go, I'm interested in XYZ. I have a Mac here. I can do all sorts of stuff.
Right.
Let me download some
Exactly.
software that does the thing, and we'll take it from there.
Yes.
Plus,
yes.
that takes a lot of IT out of the equation, where before even though packaging software on OS X is very quick and very easy, especially compared to Windows. I remember some of the nonsense of trying to get MSIs built and deployed whenever we were a Windows shop, and it took forever.
Yes.
That was mainly because I'm an idiot, but that does.
But yeah, even though it's very fast, it's still, you've got to hand off to IT to get applications installed. So you got to say, okay, I need this thing. You go back and forth with IT over email, but giving users the ability to even beyond just self-service, the application where they can go and get things that are already prepackaged by IT by choice. The fact that they can just go out to the internet and say, this is an application that I think will solve my problem, and install it.
Well, and the speakers from IBM addressed those issues as well and said, we have basically a list of apps. List is wrong, but I mean in self-service, we have these accepted apps.
Right.
And if you want an app outside of that, it is in their policy that says you go through these procedures to request it. Yes, you Chrome was used as an example. What if they want Chrome? Okay, so let's just assume Chrome is not on the list.
Right.
You want Chrome. Yes, they could go download Chrome and put it on their machine because they have the rights to do that. However, according to policy, they don't have the right to do that. According to their handbook policy, they have to go follow XYZ procedure.
Right.
If they don't follow the procedure, that's a whole nother issue.
Right.
It kind of gets, frankly, I think it goes back to a lot of the issues that we tend to see in education as well, where you have a student who does something inappropriate, and immediately people want to blame the technology. No,
right, or at least fix it with technology.
Or fix it with technology.
Right, yeah.
And no, this is a disciplinary issue. This is a violation of handbook issue.
Right.
It's no different than if they had done something equivalent without the technology.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Just they draw dirty picture. What do you break all their pencils? What? I don't know. I
You
mean,
put padlocks on the pencils. You lock them in the wall.
That's
Exactly.
right, yeah,
You tether them to the wall.
But I thought it was interesting that that's one of the ways that's one of the things that he talked about in terms of having open administrative access in terms of adding software. The other side of the coin that he addressed was, yes, out of the box, when an employee shows up, they are given full administrative rights on that machine. Now, if that person is involved with a particular, say, governmental project,
right,
and that governmental project guidelines dictate the user can only have so many rights to do this or do that, he said that takes precedent, and therefore that's going to be the rule.
Start open and progress to
exactly.
Only as limited as it needs to be, rather than the other way where you start with absolute maximum lockdown, and then if you beg, plead, and slip us a $10 bill under the table, we might give you administrative rights.
Exactly. So I thought that was very interesting and really well articulated the way he addressed both scenarios of security for the end users.
Right, and one of the things that the JSS can do to enable this sort of thing is, even in education, we occasionally have problems with a teacher context that's about XYZ student who is, they aren't paying attention, they're goofing off, they're playing Minecraft. That's the common complaint, is they're playing Minecraft whenever they shouldn't be. Is there anything we can do about it? And the fact, even though students have administrative rights on these machines, you can actually blacklist applications in JSS, and as soon as it's really funny to watch over remote desktop. So you set the blacklist, and then you start watching them just to see the reaction. But you can actually blacklist applications, and it instantly quits it.
Yeah.
And you can even set it to delete the application after it's been launched. So they launch Minecraft, it shuts down, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
And what's so funny about that is they talked about blacklisting, and he said that off the top of his head, the only program that he can think of that is blacklisted was BitTorrent.
No, yeah, that one's. I think that one is blacklisted on ours as well, just because it's such a firewall evasion. It evades firewalls so well.
Such a nightmare. It's theoretically, there's nothing wrong with BitTorrent in and of itself.
No, not with the protocol,
it's the stuff you're getting from it.
As a matter of fact, the protocol is actually quite awesome. The fact that it can go around firewalls,
Right.
There's actually an application called BitTorrent Sync, which is sort of like, it's like a Dropbox or a Google Drive, and it uses the BitTorrent protocol, but instead of going to a cloud-managed destination, you've actually got it on each of your individual machines, and it just goes directly machine to machine.
Oh, wow.
And it even is smart enough to know that if you're on the same local area network, it doesn't go out to the internet first. It goes directly machine to machine. And it's so handy because, if you've got a lot of stuff and you don't want to pay for, how many dollars a month it is to get enough storage on one of these storage providers, you can just install BitTorrent Sync on your devices. And as long as you don't wander onto a network that has, a million red flags for BitTorrent, because all of a sudden you'll show up as the guy with BitTorrent running, it's actually a fantastic application.
No, I'm using this legitimately, I swear.
Sure. Let's drag you off to the slammer.
What's he talking about?
Exactly.
Man, yeah, very cool.
Hey, you're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. We're coming to you live from the 9th floor of the Guthrie in Minneapolis, Minnesota. At the JAMF conference. We're going to drop out to a quick commercial break real fast on our ASCA promo, and we'll be back in about 30 seconds.
Join EduTechGuys live from the 30th Annual AESA Conference in New Orleans, December 2nd through the 5th. We'll be providing day-by-day coverage as we talk with presenters, attendees, and members of education service agencies from around the nation. Get rid of the noise and listen to the music with EduTechGuys Live, December 2nd through the 5th. Brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative, Hope Public Schools, and the Association of Education Service Agencies.
Oh, I'm muted. There we go. You can't hear me when I'm talking to myself. That's there you go.
There we go.
We appreciate you listening. You're listening to radio.edutechguys.com.
.com. That's forever going to be.
It is.
It's like the new You've Got Mail.
You've got mail. Speaking of, you can email us. I am David at edutechguys.com, and there's Jeff and Greg. Each of us.
I think I've got an alias for Greg. I don't think I'll log in with that.
I don't know, whatever.
We'll set one up.
We'll set one up.
Yeah,
Greg, Gregory, Schmegory, something.
That guy with the hat.
tech guy at EduTechGuys. No, I'm just kidding.
This last group, Two Canoes is here, and Two Canoes has been doing stuff with iBeacons.
They've also got iBeacon stuff too. Yeah, are they talking about that in one of the sessions? Did I miss?
They just did.
Really? Okay.
They just finished the session on iBeacons.
Okay, that's right. That's what was going on over there. Yeah, we're actually looking to leverage some iBeacons where we're going. But yeah, at Hope Public Schools, trying to get some iBeacon related stuff. And I think probably one of the most common use cases that we hear bantered about for iBeacons is printers. You put an iBeacon near a printer in a copy room or whatever, and all anybody has to do with a Mac is they walk up with their Mac, and it automatically installs the printer and the driver and everything. So you don't have to go to self-service. At the point, you don't even have to have it pushed or go in self-service. It just automatically installs as soon as you get close enough, which is pretty darn nifty.
That is pretty darn nifty. I don't know. I'd rather just double-click an icon in self-service and let it install than have to carry my Mac all the way out to my copier.
Right, exactly. But you could do it both ways.
That's
so
just me.
That way, if you did go near the copier and you didn't have it installed, like you were in another building or whatever, that is an option.
Or if you happen to be walking around campus and every copier you walk past suddenly install on
yes,
your
exactly.
Mac.
You want to have that iBeacon cut way down in power. I have 47 copiers installed on my machine, and I have no idea why.
So that does bring up an interesting question, though. Can you uninstall when you get away from the iBeacon?
I believe you can scope. I believe you can work it both ways, but I don't quote me on that because
I hear you.
We're still demoing that and working with it in our own environment.
Now that could actually be cool.
Yeah.
In a way.
That way you don't have a bazillion copiers. Every one you ever got near, it's like, don't take your MacBook into the room. It'll install the copier.
That's right. Don't take it with you.
And don't forget, tonight here in Minneapolis is the JNUC party. There'll be shuttles running from most of the hotels, I believe.
Yeah.
All you got to do is show your badge to get access to the shuttle.
Is it tonight? I thought they usually have it on the last night.
It's
tonight.
Because tonight's the last really night.
Oh, that's right, because people will be leaving.
And this year it's at the Victory Theater, the old Victory Theater.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll actually be able to find it this time. Last year when we came, we wandered around for an hour trying to find the thing.
That's where they needed an iBeacon.
Exactly.
Yes. Google Maps led us all around this particular building where we are right now.
Yeah, literally
There
around.
were a whole bunch of us walking around with looking at our maps going, it says it's right here. I don't understand.
At least it wasn't us, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's right. Not just us. That's
a little bit of everybody.
But
that's great.
We've got a decent crowd of folks kind of hanging out and chatting with each other.
In defense of everyone, it's 4 o'clock and everything shuts down at 4. Yeah, so everybody's starting to head out.
Yep.
Which is cool. We don't have to do a long show. We're doing it live, period. And,
I know. We still got stuff we can talk about.
We still got stuff in the show notes.
I was just making an observation.
And we're going to shut it down. All right, everybody. Thank you.
I'm like, what the?
I didn't know.
I was just saying.
Me.
I was just saying there's a lot of people milling about. But we haven't had any guests. I was hoping somebody would come on and tell us, what they're doing. So if you're out there and you happen to be tuned in, stop by 9th floor, the Guthrie, and the Amber Box. You can't miss us. We're set up in the corner and pretty much talking louder than anyone else here. So there you go.
Yes. Right of way by volume.
That's right. Exactly. We want to hear your JAMF story. How are you using JAMF products in your business, in your school district, what have you? So feel free to come by, grab a chair. We got a nice, cool microphone here waiting for you.
So, out of the sessions that you've attended so far, what would you say what are the takeaways that you've had so far?
That I am an idiot.
Well, besides that one.
And I'm not an idiot.
No, not at all.
Not really. But there's my takeaway. I have a lot to learn. I really do. I mean, that was my big takeaway. But to expand on that particular premise, it amazes me just how versatile Casper can be.
Oh, yes.
I mean, seeing the different ways that different organizations are using the software to handle whatever the problem is that they're trying to solve. I mean, that to me has just been incredible. And how, for lack of a better word, open, and I don't necessarily mean open as an open source, but open-ended, the software can be in terms of, yeah, we can write a script and it'll do this, and we can
Right.
pull this from here and pull that from here and put a script together, and when we put this A and B together, it makes C, and therefore we can push out D. And I mean, it's like, holy cow. and so that my big takeaway really is, it's just really how versatile
It really is.
Casper
I'm
is.
still learning new ways of doing things, and we've been using it for what, 3, 4, 5 years now, and it's just it has very flexible primitives where you've got various little things that you can string together in a row, and all of a sudden it does something incredible. And
Yeah.
it's really, really, really nice.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, I think some of the big takeaways so far that I've had, this is being our third year that we've been here, and we've been using the JSS for a while. We've covered a lot of the basics at Hope Public Schools, but there are a lot of, I think one of the best things that I like about coming here is you get to hear about all the other things that can go with the JSS.
Oh,
These little tools and services and websites and that sort of thing, that they fill the little hole that the JSS doesn't fill by
Sure.
itself.
Yeah.
I think one of the last session I was in was it was about making your JSS more resilient to failures or being more distributed. They use the analogy of the starfish, how you can cut off an arm of a starfish and it just regrows the arm. So one of the tools they talked about was something called Okta, O-K-T-A.
Okay.
And it's an identity management service, and you can actually put all of your users, groups, and that sort of thing in Okta and have it push down to Active Directory. So you can actually put all of your user identity management stuff in the cloud. Particularly for businesses that are highly distributed all around the world.
Sure.
I think it was Eventbrite who was actually
okay.
giving the talk. Yeah, and they've got offices all over the world.
Sure.
And the fact that it makes it much more resilient and more cloud-based, because you don't have to have Active Directory, or you aren't totally dependent on Active Directory. If Active Directory goes away, and even by itself, Active Directory is pretty darn resilient.
Mm-hmm.
But there are still times where replication goes awry or whatever.
Sure.
And having all of your users, accounts, and groups and that sort of thing in Okta means that even if your Active Directory infrastructure, all went up in flames altogether, you can just reinstall another Microsoft Windows server and pop Active Directory on there and pull all of your user accounts and groups and that sort of stuff back from Okta. And it sounds like it has some really powerful user management stuff, like users can reset their passwords. They can do essentially self-service password change and that sort of thing through Okta anywhere on the face of the earth. And that
That's
sort
cool.
of thing.
Wow.
It looked really cool and really powerful. You guys can see it at okta.com. And I'm at the very least going to go poking around it. I don't know if Hope Public Schools will wind up using it, but,
Sure,
it's definitely intriguing.
That's very cool. Huh.
And so, yeah, aside from that, it's been just like all these weird little libraries and command line utilities.
Yes.
And again, it's about the primitives that you can string together, because the JSS has all these individual little pieces that work really well whenever you got just a little tiny bit of glue in between them, a little bit of script, a little bit of some sort of automation, a little bit of Bash, a little bit of Python, that sort of thing, and then it's just really amazing what people have done and can do with just a little bit of glue.
Yeah. It's very cool. Very cool.
I just posted the Okta website on the Twitter.
On
Cool.
the Twitter.
On the Twitter.
The.
Yeah.
Well, another, I don't know if it's a takeaway or not, an observation that I'm going to make is that I fully believe that you two, for as long as you've been doing this and the stuff you are doing, frankly, you guys should be the ones on stage. And not necessarily at the big stage, okay.
Right, exactly.
But
Somewhere.
certainly leading some of these sessions. And I mean that in all seriousness. I mean, some of the things that, even as we've been in different sessions and I've been listening to you guys talk about, well, we're already doing that, or, oh, yeah, we could do it that way, or, yeah, we had that problem and we solved it this way, even though somebody may have solved it a different way.
Right.
The stuff that you guys have been doing, and again, for as long as you've been doing it, I mean, you guys seriously need to consider presenting.
I think we
at JNUC.
talked about it last year. I mean, just we get busy with all the random
Sure,
day-to-day stuff,
sure.
and then all of a sudden, no, it's here again. Oh, well, okay, I guess we missed
Which,
that
and
opportunity.
that is a valid point. That's true. But
But yeah, there are so many different ways to solve so many different problems.
Sure.
Even the same problems, there's like 16, 17. There's a bunch of different ways that you can solve it. And again, we're talking about primitives here, where it's just because you've got all these individual pieces and you can swap out certain pieces,
Right.
and you can solve the same problem in so many different ways. You know, I don't claim that we're any sort of geniuses, but the fact that just another different way to do it.
Sure.
And I think that's been kind of proven out by the different sessions that we've attended, where it's just like, oh yeah, we encountered that problem, we solved it completely differently.
Right.
But it was, that's another option.
Sure.
So yeah, I think just having more options is an interesting way of looking at it. And man, they could definitely pack in some more sessions.
Yeah, I would say that's one of my concerns. I don't want to call it a complaint.
Right, it's a bit strong, but yeah, we know where.
But
it's going.
definitely a concern is that there were
Periods-
many more sessions
periods
last
of
year.
downtime this year.
And this year they've really cut back on the number of sessions, and I don't know, we haven't talked to them, we don't know why that is the case. I don't know if it's a lack of presenters, I don't know if it's a lack of available space.
Maybe they were trying to make more room for the mini events.
Maybe it could be, we don't know the answer to that at this point in time, but I do hope that future JNUCs go back to that expanded during the day breakout session. As you mentioned, there's now the downtime. That kind of can cut both ways. Those periods of not being in sessions, ideally, theoretically, are used to network.
Right, exactly.
So you're sharing your ideas with other folks that have been using JSS.
Yeah.
And
let's see, who have we talked to? I talked to a guy who works for a biotechnology firm, who's spread all over the globe. I think you talked to someone with Cray supercomputers.
Yeah, we had lunch with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then last year we talked with somebody with Disney, and we've had presenters from Facebook. So I mean, these are the big names. I mean, where you can just go and network with. Oh yeah, I work for Facebook, and you try not to let your jaw drop.
Well, and by the same token, also school districts from everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, local folks for sure, in and around Minneapolis, St. Paul, and other parts of Minnesota, but then school districts from Poland and
exactly.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yes,
all the different folks that.
And that's one thing that the new CEO covered in his little keynote bit was the fact that one of the biggest markets for the JSS is education, and the fact that they're actually focusing on education. They were planning on focusing on a couple of new what do they call it, verticals or whatever, and education was at the top of the list, followed by medical and construction and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Because education uses the heck out of the JSS
Right.
both for its Mac administration side and particularly for its iOS administration, just because every student's got an iPad, and if it's not administrated, they go wandering their own ways.
And even when they are being administrated, they wander their own ways.
It is a constant battle.
So I don't know if.
So you listen.
Anybody in the room care to come and have a seat and talk about how you're using your JAMF software, Casper, JSS?
No.
Everybody's like, we're not getting on the radio.
We're not really here. The Invisibles. A tour.
So you listen to radio.edutechguys.com. We're coming from the JAMF Software Conference, JNUC, National Users Conference, from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're on the 9th floor of the Guthrie. If you want to stop by and tell us how you're using JAMF software in your company, in your educational setting, we'd like to discuss that with you as we're on the air live right now for another 22 minutes.
Yeah, man. Hey, we're just having a good time, and
so we'll take a break here in a second. Drop to some music. Anything we're missing? That's a big one here. New CEO.
Yes, and that was whenever we first came out. I will admit my first gut reaction was, oh no, just because anytime you have a change in leadership, it can mean a change in direction for the company. And we have loved JAMF software so much so far. It's just like you couldn't. It's like, okay, you're already at 90%. There's no way you can take it beyond 90%. It's all downhill from here. So, but I will admit, after the first 2 or 3 minutes in, I was sold. He definitely gets the idea of JAMF software, and he's definitely. I think they made an excellent choice in their CEO.
Well, and I think it's important to make mention that they did not have one before. You know, it was
They had
just,
founders, but no CEO.
right, but no
yeah.
CEO. So this was the first time they were stretching out and putting in a person in that position to help them with strategic planning
The
and
business
budgeting
side.
and the business side.
I think that's probably the main gist of it. Is I think the revenue is about to triple, or, especially with the IBM input and
Yeah.
where they're moving. That would be my guess.
And they added how many more employees this year? Like 100 more employees
yeah,
or
because
something?
now they're up
They're
to
about the top
500.
500,
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so they're just growing at the same rate that people are
Right.
using it. So yeah.
sure.
Well, an unnamed staffer with JAMF said to me, I said, so has IBM offered to buy you guys yet? And he said, no, I think it's come across a few times, but Apple wouldn't be very happy with them if they did that. So that makes a lot of sense in that move right there. But I think it's probably down the road. So that's,
You would, for all intents and purposes, you would have to assume the way companies work,
Bigger
especially these
companies want to
days,
make
right?
bigger
Big
revenue,
fish
so.
eat up the little fish. So,
Right.
eat up the little fish.
But yeah, so I don't know. I'm. It's going to be very interesting to see where things go under his
Yeah.
leadership, and he's only been in place since June.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think he
only
said
a couple of months.
June. So yeah, so
Yeah.
Funny.
there's a lot of stuff happens in June. I don't know what that's.
Exactly, always June.
That's interesting. IBM and then
Oh right,
CEO. It's
IBM started their thing in June. and-
Hey, listen, you're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. We're going to jump out to a quick featured artist. This is Nick C. Just a quick musical interlude here while we gather our thoughts. We'll be back in about 4 minutes.
Guess who in your moonlit face, and I know it's true. We're like shining stars, will never fade when it's me and you. That lifelong love down till the end. The words that you told me, but not what you meant. But I knew I loved you for quite some time. I knew I loved you, and for once in my life I thought I finally had the thing right. Now let go. Your ruby lips, your windblown hair, let your lies sneak through. A gentle kiss, your southbound eyes, and my pride kills my truth. That lifelong love down till the end. The words that you told me, and now what you meant. But I knew I loved you for quite some time. I knew I loved you, and for once in my life I thought I finally had the thing right. And when it's all said and done, and your memory is shining through on those yesterdays of your evil way, and there ain't no bridge undone. Well, I'll leave you be. Ain't no finding me, no, 'cause I'm letting go. Well, I knew I loved you for quite some time. I knew I loved you, and for once in my life, I thought I finally had that thing right. Now let go. Oh, now let go.
Hey, you're listening to EduTechGuys, coming to you radio.edutechguys.com, coming to the 9th floor of the Guthrie. Pretty neat thing happens here during JAMF is they do these mini events. And we're a mini event.
We are a mini event.
We don't have as many mini event attendees that we thought we would, but that's cool. We're still glad to be here doing this broadcast. You can catch us on podcast too on iTunes. Just head over to iTunes, type in EduTechGuys, and check out the podcast. What's really great is we're good. Yeah, that was the song.
Never mind. I thought it was starting over again. That was my bad. Sorry. I can't hear what you can hear, so I thought the song had started over. Sorry. I'll shut up now.
So right now happening here, it's pretty neat. What a great place to start a walking tour is on the 9th floor of the Guthrie.
Yes.
Because in this room we're in, if you'll check out our Twitter feed or check out the website, we'll maybe put up a quick blog post with some pictures. Nice gallery, be kind of nice.
Yeah.
We're sitting in a cool room that is a 3-sided glass box, and it's a if you're on Periscope right now, you can see it live.
Yeah, Greg's going to slowly pan because otherwise it'll make you sick as a dog.
You can oversee the Mississippi River from here.
Yeah.
You can see St. Paul. You can see all of St. Paul.
All of St. Paul.
So you can see most of the riverfront here by the park. It's a pretty neat place.
But it's a very, very cool room. I mean, it's a very neat room. And it actually has a piece of plexiglass in the floor. And so you can actually look down through the floor as well, which is giving a few people pause. So it's But I will say that the tour guide just jumped on the pane of plexiglass or whatever that is. So it's obviously pretty stable. He did not go through.
Yeah, well, at lunch they had a table with like 10 guys sitting at it over that whole floor, so it held.
So, unlike the elevator that we were on.
Yeah, earlier David and I were in the elevator and it overloaded and it went up a few floors and then bounced and dropped. And then went
It was frightening.
That's awesome.
Luckily,
I'm sorry I missed
we
that.
had a staff member who had a badge and she could
get us
force
to the
the
first
elevator to
floor.
the fourth floor.
Oh, man.
It was scary.
Wow. I'm sorry I missed that.
It was like our own little version of the haunted,
Yes, exactly.
whatever the thing is at Disney World. You
Spontaneous.
know, the elevator ride, haunted. I can't believe I can't think what the name of the stupid. What I'm talking about.
Oh, the Tower of Terror.
Tower of
Tower
Terror.
of
It was
Terror,
our own
yes.
Tower of Terror.
Yeah.
You know, it's Disney. I don't know that kind of
I
stuff.
don't. Well, obviously I don't either. But anyway.
I said I would know it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Never mind. We were all singing Toy Story a while ago.
Jeff
I'm just gonna put that
dons
out
his-
there.
Exactly.
As I put on my Mickey Mouse ears. Yeah, one thing tonight is the party, JAMF Nation party, JNUC party at the which theater? The Varsity.
Oh, was it the Varsity? I thought it was the Victory. Varsity. It is Varsity. Varsity Theater.
It's V something theater.
It's the V Theater.
Just look for the V something theater. I'm
So
sure.
look for the
people-
aliens running around. Oh, there's an old reference for you.
Ooh, that was an old reference.
V, huh? Okay. No, I think it is Varsity. It is Varsity Theater.
Thank you.
And so yeah, they're having the
JAMF Nation
JAMF
party.
Nation party thing going on over there. I just lost what I was going to say. Holy cannolis.
It happens even to the guys on the radio.
Man, you know.
So
Anyway, I'll tell you what. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm changing topics altogether or whatever.
jump the rails.
I'm jumping the shark. And just to let you guys know, for those who haven't seen any of our posts yet about it, we have officially been accepted to present a session at SWOW, Schools Without Walls, in Hot Springs. That's going to be in November. And then December 2nd through the 5th, we are going to be at AESA, excuse me, the AESA conference in New Orleans. So we've got all kinds of cool stuff coming up. We'll be able to, you'll be able to see us live, hear us live.
Wish that you didn't see us live. Go back to the radio.
I'm just saying, you could see us live if you were there. But yeah, so a lot of cool stuff coming up for the EduTech guys.
Yeah. So I have a question for you guys, and I'm just not have it in the show notes. I'm just throw it out there. So we're gonna have this live. What would you guys like to see at JNUC next year? What do you think they could have changed or improved?
You're setting me up.
I
You
would
want the
like
rant.
I would like to see you guys present. Frankly, I would seriously.
I seriously think that the best thing that could happen to the JNUC convention is there are a lot of education people here. A lot of education people here. And I think that the smaller organizations that are here, it's funny we say smaller organizations. Any educational organization can tell you that they have lots of holes and lots of manpower that needs to be filled. But one thing that's not covered here, that's not covered here is a lot of these people show up for the first time and they maybe just initiated JAMF, or they've only been using a JSS for 2 years.
Right.
It would be great to have some breakout workshops. I understood that on the 8th floor this year they had some classrooms set aside for work areas. There are a ton of educators that are here, education IT guys, that would love to do some 45-minute breakout sessions on, hey, here's how you build this, or here's how you profile this, or you need to create a report for this, or you want to create a smart group for this, or here's
best practices and basics.
Yeah, I think that if Dean, the new CEO, is serious about what he says about education, which in my opinion is what funded and built JAMF. That's what made JAMF what it is. They're the ones that were.
Heck, they started in education. It was higher education, but it was still education.
But I'm pretty much sure you could probably look at that. It trickles in. There's a lot of money coming to the education sector. That's who's using this as a majority. They could really make this a little more education centric. In my opinion, you could probably blow this thing out to a week. You could probably make the first 2 days, and that's something I know they don't want to be like Microsoft, but Microsoft always used to have the developers come in for the first 2 or 3 days of Tech Ed, or a week, and then the next week was the next group.
Right.
I think you could do that here, where you had the first 2 or 3 days, the developers and the business end of it and that kind of stuff. The folks that want to get the nitty gritty. Greg wants to come in and do the nitty gritty and get his hands dirty, and then starting Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it kind of overlaps. While they're still here, the education crews come in.
Sure.
And they get, a little, that Wednesday's like a really great day where they're all mixing and meddling and having some open forums and learning about each other. And the Thursday and Friday are all education centric,
Right.
Just blowing it out of the water.
Well,
that's just my opinion of it.
So do you think maybe they need a, lack of a better word, a dedicated education conference instead, maybe? I mean, JNUC is kind of everybody. I mean, it's the JAMF Nation user conference.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
It's anybody who's using it. Everybody come and show up.
Right.
So do you think maybe there needs to, and maybe not separate. I can see where maybe it
There's a lot-
builds
there's
on a couple of days or whatever.
There's
but I mean,
a lot of overlap. I mean,
Okay.
Because there is, a lot of, again, because the JSS is built with lots of little pieces that can be implemented
Sure.
in so many different ways. A lot of what businesses have to do is very similar to what education has to do.
True.
So I don't know if a dedicated conference for education would be justified, for lack of a better word. But yeah, I do think that they could have some more education focused portions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that also, if they didn't do it in that way, where it was the actual dedicated couple of days,
Right.
per se, but kind of going back to what we were talking about before, more sessions
Right.
and maybe education focused sessions.
Right.
Yeah, here's some of the stuff that we kind of do, and kind of some of the stuff that we saw
Right.
and that we have seen. It's not over yet, and some of the things that are going on tomorrow as well. But in addition to that, we've got these sessions, and they are education focused.
Right.
I
I think
don't know,
one of
maybe.
the things that I would like to see is have them run the Jumpstart Pro. So for those not familiar with the JSS and JAMF, whenever you buy their product the first time, it comes with what they call the Jumpstart, which is 2 guys who come to your site for 3 days, and they walk you through everything about the JSS. So I think that they could probably run like 2-3 jump starts during the week for those people. For like in our case, whenever we went through the jump start, only I went through the jump start. So as we've continued to use the JSS more and more, it's become more and more central to what we do. The rest of our team could use going through their, maybe not Jeff, but but the guys who missed out the first time around could probably use going and getting the jump start as well, to go, okay, here's the basics, here's how the whole thing works. That way, whenever they go to these sessions, they don't go, okay, I get all this high-level stuff and I understand it, but I'm missing some of the foundation. Just because not everyone who comes is going to be the same guys who went through the Jumpstart. So
No, well, and they talked about how, what was it, like, I don't know, almost 50% of the participants this year
were
were
first
year users.
Exactly.
First year attendees, brand new users, and they brought team members who were in that exact same position.
Right, exactly.
They didn't go through Jumpstart, presumably.
Right.
So they're getting this information that they don't have that basic foundation. This is now my second one. And we don't have it installed at the Education Service Center at this point.
Right.
I am looking at Bushel as a way to possibly manage, those devices. I don't need the same level of
It would be
depth that you guys have.
It would be a bonus.
Way overkill. But if I could see how Jumpstart works, then as other districts sign on,
Right, exactly.
or should something happen or whatever, and you wanted another set of eyes to come look at it, I
Right.
would have a much better feel for
Exactly.
what I was looking at. Right now, I'd go look at it and go, yeah, that's great. I
It looks
I
pretty
understand the English words on the screen. I don't quite understand how they all link together to make what is JSS. And so I could see where someone who is on the periphery
Right.
of the software getting into something like that,
Right.
And
Heck, even for our
being
teachers.
able to see what it looks like.
Right, even for our teachers, because we actually give our teachers limited access to the JSS.
Yeah.
Because you can give granular rights and roles so we give our entire teacher group certain rights to the JSS, but it can be a little daunting where it's
Sure.
like even whenever we put together a how-to with flashing arrows and click this and only this, it's. There's a lot of different, because it's so powerful, there's a lot of different things that it can do, and there's a lot of I understand this word, but what does it mean in context?
Sure.
So I think definitely running the jump starts throughout the week would be highly beneficial.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I would be interested in attending something like that.
Right.
One of the things that I would like to see is I would like to see not only more sessions, but if there was a way they could, repeat a session or two. You can't attend everything, like any conference.
they video everything though.
They do.
It's out
Well,
on the
no,
notes
that's
board,
true. I forgot. You're right. So, yeah,
So
actually,
that's all
I
out
forgot.
there on the notes board,
You're
and
right.
and so you can
See, I
catch
am
all
an
this.
idiot. I tried to
No,
tell you
that's
people.
cool.
Although in all fairness, it does take a little while for those videos to get up there. I think last year's videos, they took a couple months to get up on
Sure.
YouTube. So.
Right. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Okay then. Well.
But yeah, I do think that, and I think part of why they don't have more sessions is just because they've only got 3 theaters to work with. I mean, they could have much smaller sessions in one of these little classroom areas.
Right.
But if it gets wildly popular, it's like, okay, in the first 10 seconds, this sold out because we have 5 seats. So.
Yeah.
Well, I
True.
think too that this year, I think last year was 900 and something attendees, and this year is over 1,700. So they almost doubled.
Yeah.
Well, and
so
to that
we're
end,
now to a point where they're feeding everybody. That was
Right.
amazing. They still
Right.
fed
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah, and this year's lunch went much better than last year.
yes.
But that was everywhere. The other thing that's pretty amazing about it is that that's I think why there's so fewer sessions is because there's just not enough room.
Right. Plus
Right.
They
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Right.
I think they are on the brink of outgrowing this venue, which is a bummer on the one hand because it's such an incredible
it's
place.
a
to
very
come.
interesting place.
It's really cool. But at some point you just may have to either let that go or
Keep it
face
small.
the music and say, okay, we love that we had 1,700 people here, but we can't do that again. We've
Right.
got to cut it off at whatever 1,200, 1,500, whatever.
And I
it
think
is.
I think this year they were planning for more just movement of people in the way they scheduled things. I think last year they were a little bit tighter than they should have been because just getting between stuff and
Sure.
lunch was just
lunch
insane.
was a nightmare.
Because everybody decided to go to the first session of lunch.
Yes.
And it was just totally crazy.
Yes.
But I think this year they might have overshot a little bit, and they which is that's not a bad way to go. I mean, better to give a little bit more time to get settled. And
Yeah.
Again, plus with the networking thing, gives
Right.
you time to talk.
Right. Exactly.
So.
Hey, either way we look at it, what a great conference. We always have a great time. We learn a lot of stuff. We meet a lot of great people.
Yep.
And we go home with a lot more ideas than we came with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to give a shout out to Bobby Hart at Hope Public Schools. And
I want to give a shout out to Phoebe Bailey at Southwest Arkansas Educational Co-op for letting us come here and do this stuff. They've treated us very well. EduTechGuys is very,
Yes.
happy that they've treated us well and very grateful for the opportunity. Hey, you know what you're doing? You've been listening to, what's the name of this group?
3 clowns in a yellow room.
What are you doing? You're listening to radio.edutechguys.com.
Thank you.
And,
I'm just goofing around.
I know you're goofing around. And hey, we appreciate everyone who
It's been
who
somewhat
came
of a
in.
serious show.
It has been serious.
Well, it's been a lot to talk about, and we didn't get to goof around too much. So we got to goof around at the end, right? But no, we appreciate everybody who stuck it out with us and stopped by. And we had several folks who were actually snapping some pics of us hanging out here. We couldn't get anybody to
Look at
sit
these
in the
dorks
chair.
up here on the radio.
Do what now?
Look at these dorks up here on the radio.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
They drew stuff on us on Snapchat.
And yes, when the pictures go viral, we're going to be in trouble, I know. But those folks that tuned in on Periscope and everybody else who followed along, either online or watching the Twitter feed, we appreciate you guys tuning in.
Absolutely.
And, hopefully you'll tune in next time. We'll catch you next week, and we'll be back in our regular studio in the metropolis of Hope, Arkansas. And so we appreciate it. I'm David Henderson.
I'm Jeff Madlock.
And I'm Greg Moore.
You've been listening to EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.